Are you guys getting most of these correct, though? Well, you get bonuses for having more correct in a row and that sort of thing. Again, I'm giving you the grade off of how many you got correct, so don't worry about that other stuff. Well, questions, right? Yeah. I can check in with your neighbor, see how everybody did.
Yes.
Topher in the lead. All right, let's be wrapping up, y'all.
Wait, Mr. Sarks?
Ah.
I closed out of the tab. Does it still say mine?
Oh, and yep.
Okay.
That should be everybody done, right? Victory! EK2 Lamar Topher top 3! Is it going to show me the leaderboard? I thought. Oh, there it is. Okay. Cool. All right. So then that allows me to see what everybody got. I don't know why it won't let me scroll all the way down. That's cool. Fun. Oh, there we go. Okay, fine. Sweet. Check in with your neighbor. How'd you do? What do you prefer? Quizlet, quizzes, Gimkit. Ready? Okay, you guys have your robes on? Perfect. I'm going to have you guys. What's up? Yeah, let's have you guys step out and go in. Okay?
Oh, man.
All right, make sure you guys stay in the correct order. Step out all of them. All right, class. Yes. We're going to begin our trial now. You guys are going to be going first. You're going to say, all right? And then I'll be going second. The justice is going to be asking questions. 2 additional people like to be justices. Aaron, Logan, those are the first 2 hands I saw. Okay, you guys are
Oh,
set.
you have to be an actual justice.
No.
Do we have, like, can I be one that came up?
You're just gonna help ask questions, participate, whatever. Okay, so again, I just giving us a few more judges. I saw more hands and more people wanting to be judges. You can't do it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'd gladly
do
do
it.
this
Okay.
by myself.
Let's have you 4 step out and all real quick.
Yeah.
I don't. So you guys just wear what you got. It's fine.
Now let me go.
Am I the only one that
Sorry. Quickly, we gotta go, y'all. We are really late on time. We gotta go. You guys are dragging back out.
Am I the only one? Am I the only one? Other than you?
Yeah. Don't demand it. or else I'm gonna give it. I was with them all, and then.
Thank you. No, that doesn't help. Yeah, loaded.
Bro, you're the one who bent it that way.
Oh. You're gonna lose. You're going down. Lamar has big thumbs though.
Yeah.
Say Pegasus?
Yeah. I love it.
All rise. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. The honorable judges of the ICC now presiding. Gavin, you have a seat. Where you guys sit. Gavel. Where'd my gavel go? There, yeah, so you bang it and you say you may be seated. Fucking my camera now. Dang it. All right, so you guys are going to have your 10 minutes first.
May it please the court. My name is Cooper Kitchen, along with my partner Owen Smith, and we are here today representing the people for the prosecution of this case. Your Honor, Adolf Hitler is guilty of crimes against humanity for 3 reasons. First of all, Hitler started the war. Second of all, he's guilty of many war crimes. And 3, he killed an unforgivable amount of people. To our first point. At the end of World War I, treaties were set up such as the Treaty of Versailles. This put restrictions on Germany because people believed that they started World War I and were given harsh punishments. These are treaties that Hitler broke. World War II started when Hitler invaded Poland out of greed to expand the Nazi Empire. And the Nazi Empire had a kill count between 15 and 30 million people by the end of World War II. As soon as France and Britain saw this, they declared war on Germany for, I would argue, out of self-defense. Over the next 6 years, the conflict would destroy more land, people, and property around the world than any other previous war in history. Hitler believed that the only way...
So you mentioned that people like 30 million.
Make sure you speak loudly.
You feel like you mentioned that they killed like 30 million people, right, at the end of the war. So then, like, what makes that different from being in conflict with 35 million, or like the British, or like the 35 million Indian deaths or something?
May I have a chance to respond? So I feel like it's different because World War I just ended a couple of years ago, and people were just afraid of another war starting. And
Well, like, since they were already condemned in World War I, right? So if you're condemned again, like, Well, what makes it different? If like you know how the Mongols were proven innocent, right? So what makes the Mongols innocent but Hitler not?
Your Honor, may I speak? So Genghis Khan, he killed all those people, but times have changed a lot since he had his reign. Like, things are very, very different from now, or even whenever World War II happened, than they were, like, all the way back then. And also, I would like to point out the differences, in approaching killing people, because we're about to talk about the Holocaust and all the other stuff that the Nazis did, versus Genghis Khan where he's just pillaging cities. Genghis Khan really didn't have like any certain person that he was trying to attack, or well, Hitler did have a certain
Okay, I read that Hitler said that he wrote the Treaty of Versailles in substance. He thought he was being threatened by Russia and China. You want to say something about that?
I don't really think that's true, because around the time of 1939, 1938, the Nazi army was starting to rise up, and Hitler believed that war was the only way to get the necessary living space for the Germany army to expand. So, yeah.
Well, others think that war and taking over other countries would be the only way. Couldn't they make allies and get food and resources from them?
That's exactly what we're saying. That's the most inhumane way of gaining living space for our army. Okay, this leads us to our second point. The Nazis that Hitler commanded killed more than 19 million people, such as war criminals. More than 28.5 million soldiers died in the war on top of that. It is estimated that over 50 to 80 million people died because of World War II. And I don't think this compares to any other war in history. Did you have?
So earlier you mentioned something about war crimes, right? Have you looked at that one?
That's
Yeah,
it.
sure.
The Holocaust killed more than 6 million Jews and frankly wiped out the Jewish population in Europe. The torturing of the Jews was truly horrible. I have an expert from a survivor from the Holocaust, and his name is Premsel Tobias. He was arrested in the winter of 1941 for helping Jews trying to escape the Nazis and was taken into a concentration camp at just 29 years old. There he was forced into slave labor and was subjected to medical experimentation, and he described this and said that is an experience which will haunt me all my life. Just to show that stuff they did was truly terrible.
Which kind of leads us into our third reason, which is all the war crimes that the Nazis had committed. First off, some of the major war crimes that they did commit were genocide and orthopy, which is basically just like, it's racism, but like to not about race, like religion or something else.
And then, well, let's separate like the Nazi war crimes against Britain's war crimes and those war crimes.
Well, I think that they probably they had tortured and they did it a lot more than, and they fully acknowledged that they had done it and were really open about it.
Wait,
Do you have evidence that they looked any worse? And also, is during the, I don't know if the customer people was
I'll allow it.
but it was during the Vietnam War, the U.S. kind of deported the half of Vietnam with Agent Orange. I would consider that property damage to the war crimes. Have you seen them out? Own?
We're talking about how is it any different from what Japan and the US did, right? I would argue that Japan and the US, they did all of that, and of course they killed people and did all that stuff. And I don't think self-defense is the right word, but they did it because they were trying to stop the war and stop it.
Does that make them any better?
I think it kind of does, because Hitler was trying to provoke the war while they were trying to stop it. And the only way to stop it was to fight back.
So you're saying that just because Germany was better, or whatever you want to use, bigger, stronger, faster, just because they killed more people and did it more efficiently than anybody else, you're saying they're the worst?
Yes.
Even though it was what was happening at the time, just because they did it better than anyone else, they're worse than everybody else?
Not only
Why would you think that? Because it, like I said, everyone was killing people. But it's,
Well, they kind of started all of that during World War II, and like, the internment camps that the U.S. had for like Japanese people, like that's one of the things that you're kind of referring to. That kind of happened because like Japan kind of attacked the U.S. first. The Jews didn't do anything to Hitler for them to like have all those punishments. Like they were restricted like so much before they were put into the camps. Like they couldn't do basic things. Like
But like, all those Japanese people didn't do anything, because those, like, mainly Japan, right, those were just immigrants that came in.
I think that the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor kind of brought the U.S. into the war.
You could even say that the U.S. did something before that, even to Japan, in between World War I and World War II. They cut off trade. Well, they opened up trade first, and then they started cutting it off from Japan into Western Europe.
I don't mean to sound rude or anything, but I do think that we're kind of like straying off of when Hitler's on trial, not like Japan and the U.S. So he also like whenever he did have the concentration camps, he like put all these Jews into there and he forced them into labor, like, and did like how Owen said in our second point, he like did terrible things to them before he initially like. For most of them, he had like put them in gas chambers and killed them, and then he had burned some of their bodies and killed them in terrible ways that should never have anyone have to go through that. And they were just tortured every single day. So I don't think that you can kind of make up for that. Yeah.
So, do you know if there were reasons why Hitler decided to kill so many Jews?
From my understanding of it, I think that Hitler wanted someone to blame for losing World War I and how his like country, Germany, was kind of getting restricted because of World War I.
25 seconds. 25 seconds.
Also, as I said in the first point, I feel like he did it out of greed to expand just his empire, only looking out for himself. Yeah. And I feel like that, like, especially like people like Anne Frank had to like fear and hide for their lives because they were scared of like Hitler and what he was doing to their people for like close to no reason. And also the Nazis were seeking out more people to put in concentration camps.
All right, thank you very much. Please everybody take a second, tell me your table partner, what did they say? What were the strengths of their arguments? What were some weaknesses that you felt they had? Ready?
they just said, like my question, because they did it because of the classic, not like just like that's what like happened.
Class. Yes. A couple of quick things for you guys. So obviously, great job to that group. First time is really difficult, really stressful. But you guys did a great job. Great job to our justices, asking lots of questions. It helps create that back and forth, which is really what we want. Obviously, at the conclusion of the trial, my three main justices, you guys will have to write a judicial opinion. And so that won't be due until sometime next week. But I do want you just to have that on your radar, thinking about what's being presented and ultimately which side are you choosing. And then you just got to be able to rationalize why you chose that side. Yes. So that's what you guys will have to do moving forward. You guys out here, as you are watching this, I am not going to require you to do an assignment so long as you guys are paying attention and you guys are participating in the discussions in between each section. After, when the justices go out to deliberate, we'll all talk in here, and so I want to hear you guys be able to speak eloquently about that. If I'm finding that's not happening, then I will give an assignment just to make sure that you guys are paying attention. Is that fair? Okay, brilliant. With that in mind,
Are we making a decision today?
yes, the decision needs to be made today.
The
So
other four justices like, involved in the decision as well.
you will be, yes, yes. Okay. So ultimately, it will come down to the majority vote. You guys, or you three, are the only ones that have to do the judicial opinion for this one. Okay. All right. Time and fit. All right. May it please the court. My name is Tony Starks, and I'm here today representing Adolf Hitler, the defendant in this case. Your Honors, Adolf Hitler is not guilty of crimes against humanity for 3 reasons. First, pure Hitler engaged in a war of self-defense, not a war of aggression. Second, pure Hitler did not violate any customs of war. And finally, no actions were systematically committed against civilian populations. Before I begin, I will ask that each justice wipe away their preconceived biases of guilt around Germany and Adolf Hitler. As honorable justices, imagine the actions committed were done by the United States. If that were the case, would you view actions and outcomes differently? Try to do that as we go through this. I will remind you, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. It is all a matter of perspective, and all I ask is that you be willing to consider World War II from the German perspective. Now, to my first point. Adolf Hitler engaged in a war of self-defense, not a war of aggression. Imagine if you were beaten and robbed. All of your possessions and money were ripped away from you. And now you sit bloody, beaten, broken on the side of the street as a robber continues to walk past you every day, day after day, night after night, taunting you, never stops to check on you, but just leaves you to rot in despair, depression, and dysfunction. You're seeing that happen every single day. Now, imagine if one day you built up the courage to stand up to your oppressor. You stopped them and demanded and took back your home, your money, your pride. Would you be a robber? Yes, sir.
So if this committing mass genocide, even out of self-defense, that's major genocide. Even if it's out of self-defense.
That's a fantastic question. Thank you, Your Honor. I think it becomes really difficult and muddy as we start to analyze what is warfare. And as I get through some of these points, I want to talk to you guys about the customs of war. War is, apologize for my language, war is hell. And so we want to understand that there are all of these moral atrocities that happen in war. And so I'm not trying to say that any of these are morally good, but within war, immoral actions happen. And so you have to render this decision based off of, why are these actions happening? Are they justified? Are they not justified? And in this case, I believe that Hitler, and more specifically Germany, was provoked into these. They're saying that he was not provoked. I would disagree with that. If you look back at the Paris Peace Conference and the Treaty of Versailles, it stated that Germany was stripped, they lost 25,000 square miles of their territory. It took away their colonies and it gave them to the Allies. It limited the German military to only 100,000 men. If you think about that in our modern context, the United States has nearly 2 million soldiers, or 2 million people serving in the military, not soldiers. And so now if we're going to take that down to this level, that would be stripping away 1.8 million people in the military. And now we're leaving us with roughly 200,000 people serving in our military. Well, that's what it's asking Germany to do. About 1/7 of their population was only allowed to serve in the military. That's making them so they can't even defend themselves at that point. It forced them to pay $31.4 billion in reparations to other countries for a war that they did not start. They engaged in it later, and now they're being blamed for it and forced to pay these massive reparations that they could not afford. Their money became worthless as inflation rose, poverty grew, it became an atrocity within Germany at this time. Yes, Your Honor.
So if I understand what you're saying is that you're saying that the Allies after World War I blamed Germany for everything rather than giving any of the other blame on all the other countries that were involved.
Yes, Your Honor. Germany engaged in an armistice at the end of World War I. An armistice is an agreement to stop fighting. And so that's how they viewed it. However, all of a sudden the Allied powers got together without Germany and they said, oh, no, we're actually going to blame them for all of it. We're going to force them to pay war reparations. And so they basically ganged up on Germany and forced them into an economic nightmare, a military nightmare. They could no longer defend or feed their populations. That's just simply inhumane and should not be allowed. It was because of this that Hitler rose to power, that Hitler spoke up of, hey, we need to be able to defend ourselves, we need a military. That's why he broke the treaties. They are unjust treaties to begin with. Yes.
So if Hitler rising to power and fighting World War II was about taking back what everything had, what does he have against the Jews?
So it was, as you mentioned, it's about Lebensraum, right? This living space. And so what he wanted to create a society that allowed Germany to stand up for itself, to be proud of itself again, and then to be self-sufficient. And that's why he engaged in a war with taking over areas in Poland, taking areas in Czechoslovakia, Austria, those sorts of locations, because they are trying to be able to be self-sufficient as a society. If you think about this throughout history, you think about the United States, manifest destiny moving across the country. You think about Russia taking over Siberia. Think about the Mongols expanding. Expansion is a common theme throughout all of history. Hitler is not unique in that aspect. The things that make Hitler unique was the modern technology that created this new system of warfare that was unforeseen ever before in history, which is what caused so much massive death. Yes, sir.
Was Hitler trying to get everybody to combine into one, or was he trying to make it just all of what he wanted? I was going to think of the Mongols. He was thinking over China to get them back together, so it could be one whole group. They didn't try to make it longer.
Yes, so I think that's a fantastic question. Thank you for bringing that up. I think what it comes down to is when you are the ruler of a country, when you're the leader of a country or the leader of a people, your responsibility first is to those people. And so Hitler believed that it was his priority to prioritize the welfare of the German people. And so he was trying to seek out how to spread out German resources and abilities so now that he could protect Germany, he could extend Germany's power, he could make Germany relevant on the global stage and make sure that everybody understood that Germany is a global superpower. Much like the United States has done, much like Russia and the Soviet Union has done. Again, much like the Mongols did. Returning back to my oral argument, this leads me to my second point. So my first point, it was not a war of aggression. So for it to be a war crime, for it to be a crime against humanity, it needs to be a war of aggression. It was not a war of aggression. Second, which leads me, Adolf Hitler did not violate any customs of war. I want you guys to close your eyes. I want you to imagine, what does war look like? Is it bloody? Is it terrible? Is it horrifying? Of course it is. War by definition pits two groups against each other in an armed conflict. And even a surface level understanding of the past will illustrate the atrocious nature of warfare. And of course, upon a deeper dive, you'll soon realize that war is, in fact, my apologies, hell. As two sides struggle against each other, horrific actions ensue. So what then constitutes customs of war? Multiple historical examples establish precedents for many of the actions Hitler and the Germans took during World War II. While war may not be ideal, these examples will show that Hitler did not stray away from customs of war, whether it be surprise attacks and the use of blitzkrieg tactics. You can look back to William Henry Harrison in the Battle of Tippecanoe, surprise the Native Americans in the middle of the night. You can think about George Washington in the Battle of Trenton, surprising the British in the middle of the night. These sorts of quick surprise attacks are a part of war. It is a custom of war. You could think about siege warfare, dating all the way back to 4,000 years ago in the Assyrians. You can think about the use of total war, trying to inflict damage upon the population to end a war. You could point to the Punic Wars. You could point to Sherman's March to the Sea. My apologies, John. Yes, sir.
So you were talking about the blitzkrieg tactics, and
Yes, sir.
wasn't the blitz in London specifically non-military targets? So, like, in your third point, you were saying in your oral argument that they didn't harm civilians, but how can it be if they're non-military targets?
And that's an excellent point. I'm so glad you brought that up because I think it's important to note. I
You
apologize.
still got a minute.
Submit.
That was your,
Oh, timer for class? Okay. Your Honor, if you think about, this happens throughout time, it's total war. Everyone is now engaged in the war effort, whether it be through propaganda, whether it be through the industrial complex, creating things for the military. Everyone is now a member of the war society. So there really is truly a gray area of what technically constitutes a civilian. If you think about the United States dropping the atomic bomb on Japan, that was on civilians, but that was okay because it was for the greater good. So here too, Hitler is trying to suggest that total war is a custom of war, and so therefore it should not be seen as a crime against humanity. Yes, Your Honor.
So you bring up the point of no attacks were directed at civilians. So if you consider Jewish population civilians, considering that they were not fighting in the war and they had no affiliation with warfare, does genociding and killing them constitute as
I yield my time. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Doing a better talk with your neighbor. What did you take away from that? What were the strengths of the argument? What were the weaknesses? Ready? So yeah, we'll render the decision tomorrow. Tonight, glad you guys discussed it. You guys want to say goodbye to YouTube? Bye YouTube. Say bye YouTube. Bye. Bye YouTube. Say bye to YouTube. Okay. Everybody say bye to YouTube. We did it. We did it. Okay. End stream.